right, we got that going.
Thank you.
Is that running now?
Yes. It is. It's got a light show.
Make sure you say only good
It's the
things.
20th and I haven't received anything from you yet.
Oh, yeah.
I have everybody else's pretty much.
Who are we missing?
Well,
Just mine.
yeah, your article and, you know, if there's any
You can take until about 10.
celebrations or events or things that are coming on in.
Yeah, because I know it's 11:11 and 10:10.
I don't think I have an article about the Thanksgiving. Yeah,
Well, both Bill and Mike have heard most of my story before, but
Oh,
they've
there you
never
go.
seen it with
With size.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
because he's also on the endowment committee.
okay.
It'll be there by tomorrow.
Okay.
Morning at the latest.
Okay.
That's my goal, is to get it done today. All right. We'll round up some people here.
It looks like your audience is going to be members of the endowment.
That's what I was just saying, you guys have already heard my story, you just didn't see the pictures to go along.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Well, that's okay, they are interested in this topic, so. Hello, Bill.
Hello. How are you?
Good. I was just saying, both you and Mike have already heard my story, but you haven't seen it with the pictures, so.
We get to see the PowerPoint
That's right,
portion
yeah.
of it today. Okay.
Yeah, you heard the audio, now you get the visual.
I think this is gonna be the first it's been in a couple weeks.
I know.
Be great.
And you know what? The minute he turned it on, it came right on. It was great.
Oh,
Same.
perfect.
We didn't have to mess with anything.
We'll take it.
Yeah. I'm usually a backhoe person.
Well, that's pretty Lutheran of you.
As you saw, there weren't many people in front of you this morning.
Right. That's okay. It's how it is in most places. But I had to sneak out before communion because I had to come down here and get set up, so.
Right. I'm sorry there aren't more people so far.
Oh, no, you know, these many Lutherans are upstairs getting their coffee and cookies, and they gabble a little bit, and then they look at their watch and say, oh, I have to get downstairs.
What's wrong with that?
Like, okay.
Oh, that's the road room you were talking
Yeah.
about, that people will come in. That's okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for your comments.
Drifting in
People
here.
will come into,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alba,
I saw.
or all town.
Yeah, that's what he
Yeah,
said.
some comments too, so.
It's
Yeah,
funny.
that's good.
That's good. Yeah, it's a good catch, I guess.
Yep.
After this, I'm actually going over to Emmanuel and Ypsilanti for their church council meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
Where is that?
It's on North River Road. North River Road. But it'll be the second time that I've gone to a council meeting after church on a Sunday.
uh-huh.
Might as well, they're all there.
Everybody's there.
Thanks for
You
allowing
don't
Sunday,
fight.
though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Council member.
Yep.
Well, I think one more minute. and we'll
Sure,
start.
okay.
Yeah, all right.
Well, I know Mike and Bill, but I don't know you two.
We're visitors. I'm across the street at the Rudolph Steiner Health Center for 2 weeks, and my husband lives in Toledo, and he just came to visit me today.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm a visitor too. I'm not from this congregation,
Okay.
but I work for the National Lutheran Church, the ELCA.
Oh,
Okay.
And so, welcome to their place.
Well, we have two other Lutheran churches that we attend. One is in Toledo, which is St. Paul's.
Uh-huh.
Also Advent Lutheran up in Lincoln, so.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, wonderful. So, you know, Tim
I love
Jan.
that.
Oh, yes.
Okay. His dad was the
church for several years. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Tim is the pastor at Advent in Lycan.
Oh, great, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
I remember him from Mishaluka.
Yep, see?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a small world.
It is.
So I'll
And in
start
fact-
singing.
And in
5
fact,
points of separation.
I have a friend in my congregation in Trenton, south of Detroit, that works at Rudolph Steiner in the high school.
High school, oh, wow.
Yep. So she commutes a long way.
Yeah.
And brings her 2 little guys who are in preschool at Rudolph Steiner. So that's, I can't imagine trying to drag those babies up in the morning. But, so I'm Kat Hardig with the ELCA Foundation. And so what the ELCA Foundation does is we provide 3 different services to congregations. And what we hope to do through the services that we provide is help individuals make the best gifts using their best assets for the best beneficiaries in estate planning. And the 3 services that we provide are ministry funding plan, it's actually in the middle there, where we help congregations set up gift policies and endowment bylaws for what happens if they actually did receive a large gift, they need to be prepared for it. We also provide an opportunity for congregations to take those dollars that they do receive and invest them in the ELCA Foundation Endowment Fund A. And then we also help individuals do their own legacy gift planning. So first of all, I'll just talk really quickly about the ministry funding plan, because this congregation already is pretty well set in having that. But the ministry funding plan helps congregations develop a stream of funding that is something that they normally don't think about, which is the legacy plans. And it's based on a common occurrence that is 100% guaranteed to happen to every individual. So what the ministry funding plan does is we work with congregations to figure out what their ministry needs and wants are, and we help them set up a gift policy. So the gift policy process will help build structure for a congregation and confidence in giving. The reason this is so important is because sometimes a congregation will receive a gift, and if they don't have a process in place, they don't do anything with it. And I have a personal example of this. 18 years ago, my mother-in-law passed away, and she left $10,000 to her congregation, which was amazing because she was a widow and a school teacher, and she was able to leave that amount of money to her church. Well, last year when I started this job, I contacted that congregation to say, hey, do you have an endowment set up? And they said, well, we have the $10,000 that your mother-in-law left us 18 years ago in our bank account. So, in other words, no, we don't have an endowment set up, we're wasting your money, you know. And the problem was, no one knew what to do with the gift, so they did nothing. And that's not what people want. They leave you money because they want you to do something with it. So if you have a gift policy in place, it's going to give your members the confidence that you are going to use their money wisely. So what a gift policy does is it tells your individual member, how can I provide a gift to my congregation? And then how will my congregation use my gift? So we're talking about undesignated gifts or unrestricted gifts. So if someone just leaves an amount of money and doesn't say where they want that money to go. It's going to reduce any kind of conflict you might have within your council that is, you know, different factions wanting to use the money in different ways. It's going to promote leaving the legacy gift, and members are more likely to leave a gift if they know how you're going to use it. So the ministry funding plan also includes the documents that set up your endowment with your endowment bylaws. Helps you set up an endowment committee, you know, what their terms of office should be, what all their responsibilities are. So the endowment process also will build structure and confidence in giving for your members. And what your endowment bylaws will do is describe how your congregation will define ministry, and it will also outline the overall management of your fund. So your gift policy is going to manage or will handle how you're going to use a gift. The endowment bylaws will indicate how you're going to manage those gifts that you receive. And it's really part of balanced stewardship. You've probably seen this three-legged stool before. The first leg really deals with your current offerings, and those are the monies that you receive on a weekly basis and help you with your operating budget. And sometimes you're going to have a capital campaign where you've got major gifts and you want to add a wing to the church or do, a new roof or some kind of major planning. But a lot of times the planned gifts are not something that we focus on or deal with. And those planned gifts really are going to help you have that full, all three legs of the balanced stewardship program. And it's really an untapped funding stream. There's little or no money out of pocket initially. And again, it's based on a common occurrence that is 100% guaranteed to happen to everybody. So it is 100% guaranteed. How many funerals have you had at this church in the last 12 months? I just heard the pastor say that they've had 9 deaths in the past 2 weeks amongst either church members or friends. 26 ELCA Lutherans pass away every day, and many of them are our biggest givers. They've been faithful givers all their lives, and most of the time they don't leave a gift to their congregation or to the ELCA. And the reason is because we haven't asked them. And so the good news is that's what I do. I ask people to consider leaving those gifts, and it takes that sort of burden off of your members to not have to be the person that does that. So everybody needs to meet with a gift planner, that's what I am, sooner rather than later. So this would just be an example of what a gift plan could do for your congregation. So if we had a gift plan that had a $500,000 estate, which is not out of the realm of possibility when you think of the value of a home, of life insurance policies, of IRAs and those type of things. And this person has decided that they're going to leave $350,000 to their family and $150,000 to ministry. So you see how their children are still going to be well taken care of, but they're going to be leaving $100,000 of that to your church. So we look at your gift policy, and it will specifically say that the first thing that you want to do is tithe 10% of that unrestricted gift. This is a gift from God. You want to be able to share some of that. So your tithe could go to maybe $2,500 to the Synod, maybe $2,500 to ELCA World Hunger, maybe something locally that isn't even Lutheran related, but it's an organization that you deal with in this community that you want to be able to share with a food pantry or the Humane Society or something. But that's going to leave a $90,000 balance for your congregation. So the gift policy says the first thing we want to do is take half of that money and put it in the endowment. We're not taking all of the money and putting it in the endowment. We're taking half. So we're going to be saving some of it, which leaves $45,000 balance for us to use today to enlarge and promote the ministry that we're doing right now. So with that $45,000 balance, your gift policy says, if you want, you can use 100% of that balance for the needs of your congregation. And so your gift policy says that we're going to use $6,000 for new choir robes, $15,000 to fix the piano, $15,000 to send all of our kids to the national conference, and wherever that might be. You can use the money for whatever you want that's listed in your gift policy as sort of a hierarchy of things that are important to you. So what that does is it really helps you to know that if someone leaves you a gift, you're going to be using it wisely. But the other thing that we talked about was that money that's going to be going into endowment. So I just want to share a little bit with you about the endowment fund of the ELCA, which is called the ELCA Endowment Fund Pooled Trust, or Fund A. And you gotta love Lutherans because there's no Fund B, C, or D. But we had to be prepared, because you never know. I mean, they created this in 1988. There's still no Fund B, C, or D. But when the LCA and the ALC came together to form the ELCA, they both brought some money, put it in a big pot. They had $45 million. And since that time, though, we have been able to grow that to $769 million, or $750 million. So we have 1,123 participants in this fund. It says outside participants, but what that means is outside of ELCA churchwide. So that would be 910 congregations, 52 synods, and 161 other related entities. So that would be an ELCA university or college, a social service agency, camping ministry, campus ministry, those kinds of things. So this is kind of small, I know, but basically it tells you the goals of the fund, which is to generate stable quarterly distributions and to preserve the purchasing power of the underlying assets. Under the governance and administration, the oversight is from the Board of Trustees and Investment Committee of the ELCA Foundation. The administrator is the foundation. The investment managers are Portico. If you remember, Portico is the new name for the ELCA Board of Pensions. They just changed their name to Portico, and they do all kinds of investment, and they handle health insurance and pensions and things for the church. The other investment managers are Grosvenor, Hamilton Lane, and JP Morgan. They've got investment consultants, Greystone Consulting, and not listed on here, but State Street. The custodian is BNY Mellon, part of Portico. And the client servicing is the regional gift planners, that's me. So if there's ever an issue with anything that anyone has with their investment, they call me first, and then I try to help figure out where they need to go next. But they are commingled funds. What's important about it is we only do social purpose investing. So if you have your money at a bank or with Edward Jones or some other place, they don't necessarily do social purpose investing, and their main goal is to make money for their shareholders, right? Our main goal is any fees that we receive, all of that goes back into ministry. So, and I have to tell you right off, I am not a salesperson, I don't receive a commission, I am just a salaried person, so any decisions that people make do not benefit me directly when we're talking about Fund A. So you can see on the social purpose investing, we screen out for harmful products, military weapons, private prisons, any environmental degradation or human right degradation types of companies. And then we've got positive social investing screens. So we're looking for companies that work toward sustainable forestry, clean air, renewable energy, and also community development initiatives that support education, job training, affordable housing, and public health. So the money that's invested with Fund A is doing good work besides helping congregations make money and create interest income for them. So these are the returns over the last years. The dark blue is the Fund A, the light blue is the what do they call this thing?
Market benchmark.
Market benchmark, yeah, I was drawing a blank on it. So as you can see, we're pretty good with the market benchmark. End of 2018 was a big disaster for most people, and that's why you see that big drop off, and we had a big drop off. But most of the other years were excellent, and this year so far in 2019 are excellent returns. So this would show you what the growth of $100 would do if it had been invested starting in June of 2012. And this is at the end of June 2019. It's at $166.46, actually, again, above the benchmark. The benchmark is the light colored one, and we're the dark colored one. So the fees that are charged for this are approximately 1.04%, 0.60% for administration, and 0.44% for investment management services. Those are the total fees. There are no other hidden fees or other things that come out of your investment. Any other place that you would have your dollars invested, the fees would be greater than this. And this is just the disclosure that I have to put in anytime I'm talking about Fund A. It really has nothing to do with us, but it's good to know that we do follow the Philanthropy Protection Act, and we do everything that we can to make sure that what we are offering is good for the church. So anyway, that was just a short little thing about the Endowment Fund A. But let's quickly talk about then legacy planning for individuals. And really, we were talking about that three-legged stool of legacy of stewardship, and legacy planning was that third leg that made everything worthwhile, because where are your endowment funds going to come from? They're going to come generally from legacy gifts. Yes, sir?
When the money that's spent, that you spend and use, is it mainly the interest or the gains?
Yes. Now, thank you for bringing that up. So when you invest in Fund A, those dollars belong to your church forever. So if there's any time when you need to take principal out, you can take principal out. It's because it's always your money. But on a quarterly basis, the interest income is distributed to the church. And the church can decide if they want to reinvest it or if they want to take that quarterly interest and spend it on ministry. And most congregations do take that interest and spend it on ministry. So anyway, when people are thinking about their legacy planning and their gift planning, the two most important things in their lives are their family in Jesus or their family in church. So those are the things that we really focus on when we're talking about legacy planning. But we've got our expectations of how we're going to leave things to people, and then we have the reality of what happens. Because many times we're hoping that things will turn out the way we want, but if we don't plan carefully, the reality is they don't turn out this way. Now this is a funny little picture here, but if you've ever heard of Pinterest, which is sort of it's an online craft and whatever kind of a website where you can go to look for craft ideas. You were telling me about how your mom is so artistic and crafty. She might like this. So these are crayons that have been melted, and it makes this pretty rainbow. And so I saw this and I thought, my grandkids would love this. So we thought, let's try and make this. They love crayons. So I tried it, and it didn't really turn out very well because I didn't plan properly. I didn't have all the right equipment. Obviously, duct tape was my last resort. But, you know, so that was my reality. My expectation was pretty rainbow. Reality was that. This is another one. I love chocolate. And when I found out that I could make a chocolate brownie in 2 minutes in the microwave, in a mug, I was all about that. So I tried it, and I did not plan it well. And that's what happened. I couldn't eat that. You know, it's horrible. But if I had done it right, it would have looked prettier. So this other one, I thought, this is so cute. I've got a 15-month-old granddaughter. I thought she would look so adorable in the pumpkin, but you know, it was not, I mean, it was cold. Look at, there's even like a little pumpkin seed on her leg. It was horrible. So my expectation was a cute, happy baby in a pumpkin. My reality was a very sad baby that was not happy at all with that. So our expectation is that we're going to leave to our family and to ministry the things that are important to us, that our wishes are going to come to fruition. But a lot of times the reality is, you know, we're wasting money, we're wasting time, and the things that we had hoped that we could leave to family and to church don't get there because we haven't fully planned it out. So why is it important to have a gift plan? Because in many circumstances you can actually save income tax for your beneficiaries and you will be an eternal steward. I mean, how wonderful is that? So your gift plan is going to show you the best ways to give using the best assets for the best beneficiaries. So this would be an example of a we call this an illustration. So what I would do is I would meet with an individual. We would talk about who are their beneficiaries, what are the things that they want to leave money to. We look at all of their assets and we come up with a total and we figure out which assets are the best assets to leave to church and which are the best to leave to their family. So in this situation, they had a total estate of $795,000. They're leaving 85% of it to their kids, and they're leaving 15% to charity. And isn't that amazing to be able to leave almost $120,000 to charity? And so what we did was we looked at the IRA that they had, and we said, let's take this $400,000 IRA, let's split that, give 30% of it to charity, the rest of it goes to kids, because a lot of things that your kids will inherit, they don't pay income tax on. A life insurance policy, your house, stuff in your bank account, they receive that income tax free. But if they receive your IRAs, they're going to have to pay income tax on it. It's not going to hurt your kids to move some of that money over to charity because they wouldn't have got it in the first place. They would have had to pay tax on it. Charity gets the full value of it without paying any income tax on it. So it's a wonderful way for everybody to win. So a couple things that we talk about when we meet. I meet with people on a confidential basis. I am an estate planning attorney, so everything that you tell me is confidential. And we look at all of your assets and we look at, are there things that would make sense to give today? Like charitable gift annuity. You make the gift today, you receive income from that annuity over the years, and when you pass, the money goes directly to your charity. Donor advised funds, it's a similar situation. You give a gift today, and over your lifetime, you get to designate which charities you want the interest income to go to. Over your children's lifetimes, they get to decide which charities you want that income to go to. So it's a wonderful way of teaching philanthropy to your family. And of course, life insurance policies, qualified charitable distributions. I hope anybody over 70, if they have an IRA, are having their offerings that are going to church go directly from the IRA to church without touching your hands, because then you don't pay income tax on that, and your church receives the full value of that. I've got a sheet back here talking about qualified charitable distributions, or QCDs, at the back that you can take. I've got papers back there on charitable gift annuities, the charitable remainder trust, the donor advised funds, and the life insurance, leaving life insurance to your church as a beneficiary. I've also got information back there on Fund A and business cards. By the way, I want to introduce you to Sonia Markwart. She is also an estate planning attorney. She's a member of an ELCA congregation, and even though I am an attorney, it would be a conflict of interest for me to actually do a will and powers of attorney and all of the other things that you need for your estate planning. So I try to refer people to other ELCA attorneys, and Sonia is kind enough to come with me on some of my presentations so that she can also answer questions that people might have specifically regarding estate plans. Because what I work on is the gift plan, and what I will provide for individuals is a folder like this after we have met, and this would be an individual's illustration showing exactly where all their money is going to go. The back side actually lists out the charities with their addresses and their tax ID numbers so that people can change beneficiary designations and know where that money would go. I give individuals instructions on what to do next if they need to change a will, have a will created, change beneficiary designations. This document here is what should be in an estate plan. So it says, either have a will or a trust. You need a power of attorney. You need a designation of patient advocate form. And then this little document here, this is all back there too. This gives a brief example of these giving vehicles. And then this document is a donor commitment form. And basically what it just says is, as of the value of my estate today, this is the amount of money that I am leaving to church. Of course, we're hoping the value of our estate's going to go up as time goes on, but as of today, this is what we're going to leave. So all of these papers you would be keeping with your important documents so that your family will know what your wishes were. And the last thing that's included in this is this important notes about my estate. And this is something that you would fill out that could let your family know exactly where everything is at. So that in their grief, while they're grieving, they don't have to figure out what you wanted, where things are. Everything will be laid out for them right here so that they will know what to do with it. And then, of course, hopefully you will then, if you don't already have a will, you'll have that drawn up with your other estate planning documents, and keep all this stuff together and tell your kids and tell your family, here's where everything's at, so that you'll know. They never want to hear it, they don't want to know about it, but you need to talk with them, specifically about your medical designations and patient advocate forms and those kinds of things, so that they know. And it's healthy to have these conversations, because you all heard the story of Aretha Franklin. When they first thought, oh, she didn't have a will. Then it turned out they found one in a sofa. Well, apparently 2 more wills have shown up. And her 3 sons are in this bitter battle over who's going to get what. And, she kind of left a hot mess, sort of like my crayons, sort of. And you don't want to do that. We all are going to pass on to glory someday. So we should acknowledge that fact and be prepared so that who we leave behind don't have to deal with a hot mess. And many of us have had to do that. We've had an aunt or a parent or someone pass, and we're the ones left trying to figure out what to do. So we don't want that for our kids. So this is just a really nice way of getting prepared to get this done. So what I do not charge a fee for anything, but I do help you get organized. And I encourage you then to get your other documents in place and help lead you where to go on that. So we want your expectation to meet your reality. So that is it. If anyone has any other questions. questions. I do have a lot of information in the back that you can take. So thank you for spending your time with me. And if anyone's going to the 11:11 service, there's time to get up there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
You
Yes,
have
sir.
all these nice forms and everything, but there's not necessarily space in there for lots of details. And then is there another vehicle that you end up filling out that keeps different details in?
There's quite a bit of space in here for a lot of the details that you need. There's several pages in here. The other thing that you're going to want to have is your actual will. You know, you need to have some information in that. If you are planning on leaving a gift to ministry, and you have several different ministries that you want to leave to, say, for example, you want to leave something to Zion, but you also want to leave something to the ELCA Fund for Leaders that helps pay for the seminary training of pastors, or you want to leave something to Samaritas, you want to leave something to U of M Campus Ministry. We also have something called a distribution agreement where we spell that out. I'm leaving 20% to Zion, 10% to Samaritas, 15% to Fund for Leaders. So we do have more documents that we can provide to individuals with regard to ministry distributions. But if it's just your other stuff, then that would all be part of your estate plan through your wills. So in my private practice right now I'm doing this full time, but when I was in private practice, I would try to provide documents for my clients that they could avoid probate as much as possible. So we would always look for beneficiary designations on bank accounts. Instead of adding a child as a co-owner of your bank account, you would list them as a beneficiary, and after their name it would be the letters TOD, which means transfer on death, or POD, payable on death. That way they don't have any access to your money while you're around, but after you pass they don't have to go to probate in order to access the money. With regard to a private home, you can't do this in Ohio, but in Michigan, Florida, and Texas, you can do a ladybird deed, which is basically an enhanced life estate. You prepare a deed to yourself for your lifetime, and then when you pass, it goes to your children and their names are listed on the deed. But they don't own your house while you're alive. So that means if you want to sell it, you don't have to chase them to get signatures. If they have creditors, they can't come and take your house away. So it's a beautiful thing.
What did you call that again?
It's called a ladybird deed.
Okay.
I've lived through that.
Yeah.
My father had a place up on Glen Lake.
Oh, I love
And,
Glen Lake.
I'll say, so did I.
No.
And I have 3 brothers. I was the executor, however. So anyway, but Dad had left it all to us. Now, when we decided 2 of us wanted to sell and 2 didn't, and I said, on the advice of my lawyer, I said, we'll just go ahead and sell it. And, because otherwise it'll never work out. So we sold it. Now, when it came time for the taxes, thank the Lord, was my dad had done this in his deed that said, I own this property until the day of my death, and then it goes to my 4 sons.
So you had a status
So
basis.
all of a sudden, the value of the property,
Right.
instead of being this, was now this.
Right. Yeah.
So it was a huge thing, yes,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
helps a lot to have that stuff on the basis, so you're not paying that giant tax bill.
Estate tax.
Yeah.
So
I
the-
haven't just built a house, I gotta get this and do that.
Yeah, so the other thing that happens with cottages is you can do a cottage trust. So I've done that with some families too, where, mom and dad own the cottage, there's, 3 or 4 children, and to sort of avoid that situation, you create this trust, which then creates a management company, which manages, it's all kind of complicated, but also simple at the same time, because you have all agreed that.
You've taken that out of the picture.
Right, and mom and dad are kind of leaving money to help with the maintenance. It's all kind of a cool thing that the cottage can stay in the family. Even if somebody wants out, well, then just don't be part of it.
Is it better for giving to use a will or a trust?
It depends on everybody's situation. In the old days, we always encouraged people to have a trust just because the estate taxes would kick in so quickly. I mean, when I started practicing, it was $600,000. If you had an estate worth $600,000, you were going to pay estate tax on it.
When I started practicing 12 years ago, it was 800,000.
Yeah, so it was, so now it's 11.5 million for a single person, 26 million for a married couple. So I have never come across anybody who would pay estate taxes ever. So the trusts were always important then. Now, by and large, if you have a trust, keep it. But if you don't have a trust, you really don't need one unless you have special needs, adult children, a blended family where there's children from a previous marriage that you want to make sure still get something. I do create testamentary trusts inside a will if there are children under the age of 18, so that the trust only comes into being if the parents die and there's still a child under 18. Because otherwise, if you create a trust, you do have to transfer everything over into the trust. Because if you don't do that, if you don't transfer your home and your bank account and your stuff, all you have is a bunch of expensive paper. Yes?
How often do they recommend that you review or change or redo your will?
Anytime something happens in your life, like a new grandchild, you move, a divorce, some kind of thing, or every 5 years. That's kind of what we think you should. You could do everything.
At least sit down and meet with someone to have the discussion.
Gotcha.
Whether or not the document needs updating is a different thing.
Gotcha.
But sit down and talk about your life, what you have, who you want your stuff to go to, and whether or not your will still covers it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One thing that is that the Plan A is only for
Fund A.
congregation, or Fund A.
Only for Lutheran affiliated organizations, so congregations and any of the other Lutheran affiliated.
but-
So, yeah.
But not individuals.
Now, well, actually, an individual can put endowment in Fund A, but what that means is they will not be able to touch the basis of their money. They've actually donated that money to the foundation, but they can direct where the interest income goes. But the interest income has to go to a charity, it can't go back to the individual.
So it's not a Vanguard fund?
No, no, it's not. But I have had congregations that have taken their endowments and put them in community foundations, and then they were very sad to find out that that's not their money anymore. All they get is the interest income from it. They can never touch the basis because they've donated that to a community foundation. In Fund A, it's always the church's money. You can take it out if you needed it. We hope you never take it out because, you want that endowment to grow. But it does, it does beautiful things for ministry of the ELCA, so we encourage that. So I don't think I ever once got into that shot. I was always over here. I don't think I ever stood over here. So
It's okay.
I'll never know the face.
No, it's wide, actually.
Oh, okay, good.
I have you there,
I
so
was
you're
gonna say
good.
that, they won't know the face going.
No, I made sure. Yeah, we had a wide angle.
Well, thank you
So you
very
guys
much.
are across the